During a friend's party, they mocked my income and ambition. 2 years later, I returned successful, said nothing, and watched envy replace their laughter. So when are you going to get a real job? The question hung in the air like a slap. I looked up from my beer to find Connor smirking at me across the coffee table. The entire living room went quiet. 6 pairs of eyes turned toward me. I felt my face flush hot. I have a real job, I said quietly. Connor laughed, and the others joined in like a chorus I hadn't auditioned for. Come on, man. Teaching coding to kids online isn't a career. It's a side hustle at best. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. I'm 28 years old, single, and until that moment, I thought these people were my friends. We'd known each other since college, been through breakups and hangovers and late-night philosophy debates that meant nothing in the morning. But something had shifted in the past year. Maybe it was because they'd all climbed corporate ladders while I'd chosen a different path. Maybe it was because I still drove the same beat-up Honda I'd had since junior year. Or maybe they'd always been like this, and I'd just been too blind to see it. I'm building something, I said, keeping my voice steady. It takes time. Building what? That was Derek, leaning back in his armchair like he owned the place. He kind of did. It was his apartment, his party. An educational platform. Interactive coding courses for teenagers. The beta launch is in 3 months. Beta launch, Connor repeated, making it sound like a joke. How much are you making right now? The room felt smaller suddenly. That's not really. Come on, we're all friends here. What's your monthly income? I should have left right then. I should have stood up, grabbed my jacket, and walked out with whatever dignity I had left. Instead, I answered, about $2,000 a month. After expenses. The silence was worse than the laughter. Derek whistled low. Jesus, man. My gym membership costs more than your rent probably does. Actually, I'm living with my parents right now, I said. Saving money for the business. I don't know why I added that last part. Maybe I thought it would make them understand. But Melissa, Derek's girlfriend, actually gasped. You're almost 30 and you live with your parents? Temporarily, I said. That's what everyone says, Connor said. Look, I'm just being honest with you because we're friends. You need to wake up. This startup dream thing, it's not going to happen. You're not Zuckerberg. You're a guy who's good with computers, and that's fine, but you need to accept reality and get a real job before it's too late. I appreciate your concern, I said, and I could hear the ice in my own voice. Don't get defensive, Derek said. Connor's right. We've all watched you struggle for 2 years now. You can't even afford to split the bill when we go out. Remember that restaurant last month? We had to cover you. I remembered. I'd offered to skip dinner, but they'd insisted I come. Then made sure everyone knew they'd paid my share. I said I'd pay you back. It's not about the money, Connor said, though his expression said otherwise. It's about ambition. Real ambition. You're settling for this pipe dream instead of building an actual career. I am building a career. No, Derek said, standing up to grab another beer from the kitchen. You're avoiding one. The others nodded along like backup singers. These were people I trusted. People I'd helped move apartments, driven to airports at 4 in the morning, listened to for hours when they had relationship problems or work stress. And now they sat in Derek's expensive apartment with their expensive clothes and their expensive opinions, telling me my life was a mistake. Maybe I should go, I said, standing up. Don't be like that, Connor said. We're trying to help you. By humiliating me? By being honest. Someone needs to tell you the truth. I looked around the room, at faces I'd known for years, at people who'd promised we'd always have each other's backs. Thanks for the honesty, I said. I grabbed my jacket from the back of the couch. Don't be dramatic, Melissa said. We're just worried about you. Sure, I said. I walked to the door. Hey, Derek called after me. No hard feelings, right? We're still good. I paused with my hand on the doorknob. Every instinct told me to turn around and tell them exactly what I thought of their concern. But I didn't. Yeah, I said. We're good. I drove home in silence. My phone buzzed 3 times with messages from the group chat, probably explaining to each other how I'd overreacted. I didn't check. My parents were asleep when I got home. I went straight to my room, my childhood bedroom with its faded posters and 2 small desks, and sat in the dark for a long time. The worst part wasn't the mockery. It was the doubt they'd planted in my head. What if they were right? What if I was delusional? I'd been working 16-hour days for 2 years, building something I believed in, surviving on ramen and hope. My savings were almost gone. My social life had evaporated. My dating life was non-existent. Hard to impress anyone when you're broke and living with your parents. I pulled up my laptop and looked at the code I'd been working on earlier. 3,000 lines of careful, elegant programming. A user interface I'd redesigned 17 times until it felt intuitive. Video lessons I'd recorded and re-recorded until every explanation was crystal clear. I'd been so sure this would work. But sitting there in the dark, I felt that certainty crumbling. Maybe I was a fool. Maybe ambition without a paycheck was just failure in disguise. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Connor, texting directly. "Hey man, sorry if that came across harsh. Just want what's best for you. Let me know if you want me to pass your resume to my company. They're always looking for developers. Starting salary is $90K. I stared at the message for a long time. $90,000. I could move out, buy a new car, go to restaurants without calculating the tip. Stop being the charity case of my friend group. All I had to do was give up. I typed out a response 3 different times. Each time, I deleted it. Finally, I just turned off my phone. I spent the next 3 months in a blur of code and coffee. I stopped going to group hangouts. Stopped checking the group chat. Stopped trying to maintain friendships with people who saw me as a cautionary tale. My platform launched in August. I had 47 users the first week, 83 the second. By month 3, I had 1,500 paying subscribers. It wasn't much, but it was growing. I reinvested every penny into marketing and content. I lived on instant noodles and optimism. My parents worried but didn't push. They'd raised me to finish what I started. 6 months after launch, I hit 5,000 subscribers. My monthly revenue crossed 20,000. I finally moved out of my parents' house. Not into anything fancy, just a small 1-bedroom apartment, but it was mine. I hired my first employee, a recent graduate who reminded me of myself. Hungry, talented, and willing to work for equity and hope. A year after that night at Derek's apartment, my platform had 30,000 active users. Revenue was stable, growing. I was featured in a tech newsletter as an emerging startup to watch. I still thought about that night sometimes. About Connor's smirk. About Derek's casual cruelty. About how small they'd made me feel. But I didn't reach out. I didn't send them screenshots of my success. I just kept building. 2 years after that party, I got a message from Derek. "Hey stranger, long time. We're having a reunion thing at my place next month. Same crew. You should come." I almost deleted it, but curiosity won. "Sure," I typed back. "I'll be there." The month crawled by. I didn't tell Derek or anyone else what had happened in those 2 years. I didn't update social media much. I'd been too busy working, so they probably assumed I was still struggling, still living with my parents, still chasing a dream that would never materialize. Let them assume. The night of the party, I dressed carefully. Nothing flashy, just well-fitted clothes that actually cost more than $20. I drove my new car, a modest but reliable sedan I'd paid cash for. Not because I needed to impress anyone, but because I'd earned it. Derek's apartment looked exactly the same. The same furniture, the same pretentious art on the walls. I knocked, and he answered with a beer in hand and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Hey man, good to see you. Come in, come in." The same people were scattered around the living room. Connor on the couch, Melissa in the armchair, a few others I recognized. They all looked up when I walked in. "Look who finally emerged from his parents' basement," Connor said, grinning. There was that familiar edge to his voice, that casual cruelty dressed up as humor. I smiled and grabbed a beer from the cooler. "Good to see you too, Connor." "So," Derek said, settling back into his spot. "Catch us up. What have you been up to?" "Still doing the coding thing. Still teaching kids to code." "Yeah." I could see them exchange glances. The same pitying looks from 2 years ago. "That's cool," Melissa said in that tone people use when they mean the opposite. "It's nice that you're passionate about it. How's the platform doing?" Connor asked. What was it called again? He'd never asked what it was called the first time. "Codecraft," I said. "It's doing okay. Just okay." Derek laughed. "Come on, man. You can be honest with us." "It's fine," I said simply. I sipped my beer and let the conversation move on. They talked about their jobs, their promotions, their bonuses. Connor had made VP at his company. Derek was managing a team of 12 now. Melissa had bought an investment property. They name-dropped restaurants and vacation destinations like achievements. And I just listened. "What about you?" Connor asked eventually. "Still living with your folks?" "No," I said. "I moved out." "Oh, nice. Where to?" "Just a small place downtown." "Roommates?" "No, just me." Connor raised his eyebrows. "Must be a tiny studio if you can afford it on a teacher's salary." "It's 1 bedroom," I said. Damn, downtown rent is crazy though. You must be making better money now. Did you finally get a real job? There it was again. That phrase. A real job. I'm still running Codecraft, I said. The disappointment on their faces was almost comical. You're never going to let that go, are you? Derek said, shaking his head. I admire the persistence, man, I really do. But at some point, you have to cut your losses. Maybe, I said. No maybe about it, Connor said. Look, I'm glad you're passionate about teaching or whatever, but you're throwing away your prime earning years. You could be making 6 figures by now if you just accepted that job offer I sent you. I'm doing fine, I said. Fine isn't good enough, Connor said. You should be thriving. You're talented, man. You're wasting it. I nodded slowly. You're probably right, I said. That seemed to satisfy him. The conversation drifted again. More talk of careers and money and status. I mostly just observed. It was strange, sitting there. 2 years ago, their words had cut deep. Tonight, they just bounced off. Maybe because I knew something they didn't. Or maybe because I'd realized these people didn't define my worth. Around 10, Derek's phone rang. He looked at the screen and frowned. Sorry, work call. Gotta take this. He stepped out onto the balcony. Through the glass, I could see him pacing, his expression stressed. When he came back in, he looked pale. Everything okay? Melissa asked. Yeah, just work stuff. Potential client issue. On a Saturday night. Connor said. That sucks, man. Part of the job, Derek said, but he looked rattled. He grabbed his laptop from his bedroom and spent the next 20 minutes typing furiously while trying to stay engaged in conversation. I recognized that stress. The terror of depending on a single employer, a single client, a single source of income. I'd lived it before I went out on my own. Around 11, people started talking about heading to a bar. There's that new place in Midtown, Connor said. Supposed to be nice but pricey. You coming? He looked at me. There was a challenge in his eyes. A test to see if I could afford it. Sure, I said. We all piled into cars and drove over. The bar was trendy, all exposed brick and Edison bulbs. The kind of place where cocktails cost $18. We found a table, and the drinks started flowing. Connor ordered a round for everyone without asking. I got this one, he announced. Then looked at me. You can get the next one. It was a power move. A way of establishing hierarchy. Of reminding me I was the broke one in the group. No problem, I said. When the server came back, I ordered a round of top-shelf cocktails. The good stuff. Connor's eyes widened slightly when the server read back the order. Whoa, big spender, he said. Just one round, I said with a shrug. When the bill came, I pulled out my card without hesitation. It was almost $200. Connor watched me sign the receipt. Damn, must have been a good month, he said. It was fine, I said. But I could see the questions starting to form in his eyes. We stayed for another hour. The alcohol loosened everyone up, and the conversation got more personal. Derek started complaining about his boss. Melissa talked about feeling stuck in her career. Connor admitted he was burned out but couldn't leave because of his mortgage. They all had golden handcuffs. Nice salaries, but no freedom. What about you? Derek asked me. You ever get tired of the grind? Sometimes, I admitted. But I like what I do. Yeah, but teaching kids to code online? Connor said. Doesn't that get boring? Same thing every day. It's not just teaching anymore, I said. The platform's grown a lot. I spend most of my time on product development now. Strategy. Hiring. Melissa perked up. You have employees? A few, I said. How many? 8 full-time. Couple of contractors. The table went quiet. Wait, Connor said slowly. How are you paying 8 employees on a teacher's salary? I sipped my drink. The platform generates revenue, I said simply. How much revenue? Derek asked. I could see them all leaning in now. The dynamic had shifted. Enough, I said. Come on, Connor pushed. You made us tell you our salaries that time. Fair's fair. I remembered that night. How they'd forced me to confess my income. How they'd laughed. It varies month to month, I said. But we're on track to hit $2 million in revenue this year. Nobody spoke. Connor's face went slack. Derek's eyes widened. Melissa actually leaned back in her chair like I'd pushed her. $2 million, Connor finally said. Revenue? Yeah. As in dollars? Yeah. That's not. I mean, revenue isn't profit, Derek stammered. What's your actual take-home? After salaries and expenses? About $40,000 a month. Give or take. The silence stretched. Someone at another table laughed loudly, and we all jumped. You're making $500,000 a year? Connor said. His voice had gone up an octave. Before taxes, I said. It's not that much when you factor in Not that much. Derek interrupted. I make 85,000 and I thought I was doing well. You were doing well, I said. And I meant it. But Connor shook his head slowly. Wait. Back up. You're telling us that stupid coding platform you were building actually worked? It's not stupid, I said quietly. I didn't mean, Connor started, but he absolutely did mean it. Why didn't you tell us? Melissa asked. Tell you what? That you were successful. We thought you were still struggling. I took a long drink. You didn't ask, I said. What do you mean we didn't ask? Derek said. We've been asking how you're doing. You asked if I still lived with my parents. If I had a real job. You didn't ask how my business was going. The truth landed like a stone in water. That's not fair, Connor said. We were concerned about you. Were you? I asked. It wasn't accusatory. Just curious. Connor's face flushed. Of course we were. You were our friend going through a rough time. I wasn't going through a rough time, I said. I was building something. There's a difference. You were broke, Derek said. Living with your parents. We had to cover your meals. I was investing in my future, I said. And I told you I'd pay you back. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. What's your Venmo? I asked Derek. What? You said I owed you for dinner. What's your Venmo? I'll send it now. That was 2 years ago. Don't worry about it. I'm not worried about it. I'm paying my debt. What was it, $60? Something like that. I sent him 200. That should cover it plus interest, I said. Derek stared at his phone. This is weird, he said. Why is it weird? Because you're acting like we wronged you or something. Did you? I asked. The question hung there. Connor shifted uncomfortably. Look, he said. Maybe we were a little harsh that night. But we were trying to help. Were you? I asked again. Yes, Connor insisted. You have to understand, we watched you struggle for so long. We didn't want you to waste your life on something that wasn't going to work out. But it did work out. Yeah, but we didn't know that would happen. The odds were against you. The odds are always against you, I said. That's not a reason not to try. Melissa leaned forward. Are you mad at us? She asked softly. I considered the question. Was I mad? 2 years ago, I would have been. But now? No, I said honestly. I'm not mad. Then why does this feel so uncomfortable? Derek asked. Because you're realizing you were wrong about me, I said. And that's uncomfortable. Connor bristled. We weren't wrong about you. We were worried. You mocked me, I said, still keeping my voice level. You called my work a pipe dream. You told me I had no real ambition. You made me feel worthless. That's not what we meant. It's what you did, I said. The table fell silent again. Around us, the bar buzzed with conversation and laughter. But at our table, nobody seemed to know what to say. I'm sorry, Melissa said finally. If we hurt you, I'm sorry. Me too, Derek added quickly. Connor said nothing. He just stared at his drink, his jaw tight. I appreciate that, I said. So we're good? Derek asked hopefully. I looked around the table. At faces I'd once known so well. At people who'd been part of my life for years. I don't know, I said honestly. Are we? What do you mean? I mean, do you actually care about me? Or do you just care now that I'm successful? That's not fair, Connor said. Isn't it? 2 years ago, I was an embarrassment to you. A cautionary tale. Now I'm making more than all of you combined. And suddenly you want to know everything about my life. We've always cared about you, Derek said. You have a funny way of showing it. Connor slammed his glass down. You know what? Fine. You want the truth? Yeah. We thought you were wasting your life. Yeah. We thought you'd fail. Because most people do fail. Most startups crash and burn. We were being realistic. You were being cruel, I said calmly. We were being honest. Honesty without kindness is just cruelty, I said. Connor opened his mouth, then closed it. He had no response to that. Look, I said, softening slightly. I understand where you were coming from. I do. You saw me struggling and thought you were helping by pushing me towards stability. I get it. But, Melissa prompted. But real friends support you even when they don't understand what you're doing. They trust you to make your own choices. They don't humiliate you and call it concern. Derek rubbed his face. We screwed up, he said quietly. Yeah, I said. You did. Can we make it right? Melissa asked. I thought about that. Could they? Did I even want them to? I don't know, I said. Maybe. What would it take? Derek asked. I shrugged. Time, I guess. An actual friendship. Not whatever this is. What is this? Connor asked. Obligation, I said. Guilt. Curiosity. Take your pick. That's harsh, he said. Is it wrong? He didn't answer. I finished my drink and stood up. I should go, I said. Already. Derek said. Come on, stay. Let's Let's talk more. I don't think there's much left to say tonight. When will we see you again? Melissa asked. I don't know, I said. I'm pretty busy these days. It wasn't a lie, but it also wasn't the whole truth. The whole truth was I wasn't sure I wanted to see them again. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I pulled out my wallet and threw down enough cash to cover another round. Drinks are on me, I said. You don't have to, Derek started. I know, I said. I walked out of the bar into the cool night air. Behind me, I could hear them talking, their voices muffled through the windows. Probably dissecting everything I'd said. Probably trying to figure out how they'd missed my success. Probably feeling a mix of shame and envy and confusion. I got in my car and sat for a moment before starting the engine. My phone buzzed. 3 messages in the group chat. I didn't read them. Instead, I drove home to my small but comfortable apartment. To my life that I'd built from nothing but code and conviction. To my future that nobody else had believed in. I thought about that night 2 years ago. How small they'd made me feel. How close I'd come to giving up. How their mockery had almost convinced me they were right. But I hadn't given up. I'd kept building. And now everything was different. The strange thing was, I'd imagined this moment so many times. The moment when I'd prove them all wrong. When I'd show up successful and watch them eat their words. I thought it would feel triumphant. Victorious. But sitting in my car outside my apartment, I mostly just felt tired. And a little sad. Because I'd lost something in those 2 years. Not my ambition or my drive. But my friends. Or maybe I'd just finally seen them clearly for who they really were. Maybe they weren't worth keeping. Or maybe everyone deserves a second chance. I didn't have the answer yet. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Connor, texting directly. You're right. We were assholes. I'm sorry. I stared at the message. 3 years ago, that apology would have meant everything. Tonight, I wasn't sure what it meant. I typed back. Thanks for saying that. Nothing more. I went inside, changed into comfortable clothes, and opened my laptop. 300 unread emails. 40 Slack messages from my team. A product roadmap that needed review. A partnership proposal from a major university. My life was full now. Full of work I loved. People who respected me. Problems worth solving. I didn't need validation from people who doubted me. I didn't need revenge or vindication. I just needed to keep building. The next morning, I woke up to a missed call from Derek. And a text from Melissa. And another message in the group chat. They wanted to meet for brunch. To talk more. To reconnect properly. I thought about ignoring them. Just letting that chapter of my life close quietly. But something stopped me. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the hope that people could change. Or maybe it was just unfinished business. I texted back. Next month. I'll let you know when I'm free. Because I was busy. And because they could wait. They'd made me wait 2 years to see my worth. They could wait a few weeks for my time. I got dressed and headed to my office, a small co-working space downtown. My team was already there, working on the next feature release. Young, hungry developers who reminded me of myself. Who believed in what we were building. Who didn't need me to prove anything because they'd chosen to be here. Morning, boss, said Trevor, my first hire. Morning, I said. How's the integration coming? Almost done. Should be ready for testing by Wednesday. Perfect. I grabbed coffee and settled into my desk. Around me, the energy was electric. Everyone focused, excited, building something together. This was what I'd chosen over stability. Over certainty. Over the approval of people who couldn't see past their own limitations. And looking around that small office, I knew I'd made the right choice. Not because I was making money now, but because I was happy. Because I'd built something meaningful. Because I'd proved to myself that I could. That was worth more than Connor's apology. More than Derek's guilt. More than any amount of envy or respect from people who doubted me. My phone buzzed one more time. Another message from Connor. I looked up your platform. It's actually really impressive. I'm sorry I never took you seriously. I smiled and put my phone away. Maybe we'd reconnect eventually. Maybe we wouldn't. Either way, I'd be fine. Because I didn't need their validation anymore. I had my own.